In this video I'm going to look at a driving test report sheet that someone emailed me in. They didn't pass the test, so I'm going to take a look at that report sheet and go through it and give some tips and advice to hopefully help them to avoid making the same mistakes again. If you want to learn to drive and be a better driver, no matter what level you're at, then why not subscribe to this channel and then hit that bell notification where you can be notified whenever I upload a new driving lesson video. So let's take a look at the report sheet first. So here it is. If we take a quick look down through it, we can see that there's a few grade 1s there on the top. Now they're nothing really to worry about too much. One is on technical checks and the top one there is rules and checks. So he probably got a couple of questions or road signs wrong, and he probably made a mistake in terms of pointing out parts of the engine or maybe some checks on the inside of the car. So that's where the technical checks will come from. Then if we go down, we can see position stopping. There's one on that. Now that could be possibly not parking close enough to the curb, or it could be to do with a junction, like not stopping at the line, or perhaps he went over the line, maybe a traffic lights, I'm not really sure, but there was definitely one mark there for position stopping anyway. Further down along then we can see there's more here on observation. And this is where it gets more serious. There's a lot on observation there. So we have there moving off, changing lanes, turning right and then turning left. If we look at moving off first, it's so important that you check your blind spot moving off. If you're parked on the left, you must give a good check over your right shoulder when moving off, because you're not going to see everything in the mirrors. I've made other videos on this, you'll see links in the description, but if you take this example here, I'm pulling off here from the side of the road. It's slightly busy, so you'll see me here checking the blind spot, and then you'll see me double checking it, and if you look close you'll see me even giving a quick look or two in the mirror as I move off. You cannot rely on your mirrors alone, and even if you do check your blind spot and it takes you a few extra seconds to pull away, remember that initial blind spot that you gave is out of date, so it needs to be rechecked and kept fresh. So we can also see here under the category of observation, changing lanes. It's very important that you check your mirrors and perhaps even give a quick sideways glance like this, or on the other side like this, but just make the sideways glance quick. Don't be giving any dramatic looks over the shoulder, because you don't want to be taking your eyes off the road too long. So if it's observation changing lanes, the person probably didn't give enough mirror checks when they changed lanes. And turning right then, it's very important to have good proper observation turning right, because in a country like Ireland where we drive on the left hand side of the road, that means if you're turning right you're going to be crossing two lanes, so that makes it more dangerous and more tricky. So if you look at this example here, I'm coming down to a stop sign and I will make sure I stop here. I then proceed to keep the head moving, looking left and right, giving regular looks left and right to take account of what's coming, and then getting the one last look as well. You'll notice that I was leaning forward as well there as I was taking that turn. Then turning left would be something similar. So when you're turning left, it's a little bit easier than turning right because you've only got one lane, but make sure you don't constantly look to the right, because yes, that's where the traffic's coming from, but remember there could be pedestrians or there could be parked cars on your left, so just make sure you keep the head moving, a bit more frequency on the looks maybe there. So that's probably what that was. Moving down then, we can see here that we have hazards, reaction to hazards. So this is quite a common one. This comes up all the time, to be honest with you. Now it's hard to say. I didn't get a lot of information off this candidate. It's hard to say what the actual hazard was. I can give you one or two examples here, but like it's a wide variety of things. It could be how you reacted to parked cars, how you reacted to roadworks, did you give enough space, did you end up braking suddenly, which can be a big no-no. But if you look up here, I'm driving up a little hill here, and I'm just going to move a little bit central here because of the parked car. And this is helpful because I see there's another car up there that's sort of reversing or manoeuvring. So by me moving out a little bit there, it just gives me that little bit of room. So it shows a good reaction to that hazard or that potential hazard. And then along here, you'll see that as I'm driving along, in the distance I can see there's a bit of a cluster of pedestrians there. So as I get closer, then you can see there's a group of young lads. They just literally walk out into moving traffic. Like, I mean, they just literally carelessly walk out. But that's pedestrians. That's what they'll do for you, especially young lads. They wouldn't be the brightest sparks on the old bonfire. So you always have to expect the unexpected when you have pedestrians, especially young lads. So moving on then, we have signals stopping is next there on the sheet. Now, I'm not really sure about that. In my experience, that's usually to do with parking. So the person either didn't indicate, indicated late, or initially indicated, but then let the indicators go off too early. That's what I think that probably is. It's only the one grade 2, so it's not a huge amount of mistakes there, but that's what I think that is. So just make sure when you're parking that you keep your indicator on until after you secure the car, because sometimes the car can self-correct, like it'll automatically turn off the indicator if the car straightens. That's useful sometimes, but you don't want that when you're parking. You want to keep the indicator on, and then when you pull up your handbrake and then put the car in neutral, maybe then you can turn it off, depending on the road, of course. So next we have progress. Very, very popular point of failure or area where people pick up marks. Progress is simply driving too slow, or being too hesitant, or being over cautious. So if we go down through them, we have here on the straight, at roundabouts, and then turning left. So let's look at on the straight. Look at this example here. I've just come off a roundabout, and as you can see, it's a lovely road ahead there. It's a fairly clear road. You can see it's a dry day. Yes, there's a couple of gentle bends, but it's not really much to write home about. What I need to do in that road is give her some juice and get her up to 50 or 60, depending on the speed limit. To the best of my knowledge, the limit is 60 here from my memory. So what I need to do is get her into 4th gear and get her up to 60 kilometers, and don't hang around. If it's a good safe road, put the foot down and go for it. Obviously stay either on or below the speed limit. I'm not saying exceed the speed limit, but what I'm saying is you can't be hanging around being overcautious, because it will cost you marks. Next on the sheet then, we can see we have progress here on roundabouts and turning left. So in a similar vein, like if it's safe to go on the roundabout and you can see that it's clear, and you can, like you would go if you had your family or your children in the car, and you would go if they were there, well then do the same with the tester. You have to be decisive, you have to be confident enough to make that decision. I have made videos on this and on when to pull out on roundabouts, so as always I'll leave a link in the description, and if you check out those videos you'll have a better idea of what I'm saying. But in simple language, if it's safe to go, don't hang around and be overcautious, just go. And another one then we have here is road markings. I'm not 100% sure about this. It could be to do with possibly stopping in a yellow box. It could be maybe going over some white lines or hatched lines that he shouldn't have went over. But somewhere along there was an issue with road markings. It's only one, so it's not really, not too much. I wouldn't worry about it too much is what I'm trying to say. But as always, just be aware of your road markings. Again, I've made a video specifically on road markings, about the white lines, the broken white lines, about hatched lines. I have videos on yellow boxes, so I'll leave links in the description again. But when you're driving, just be aware of lines, your hatched lines. They shouldn't be crossed. They should be treated like a curb. You can cross them sometimes, like if you want to overtake a slow moving vehicle and it's a continuous white line, you can overtake that no problem, as long as it's safe in front of you. But just be aware of your road markings, especially when you get closer into town. You're going to have more signs and more road markings the closer you are in the centre of town. So I hope this video helped to clarify some of the things that went wrong in the test, both for the person who unfortunately failed and for others as well. I'll be back very soon with another video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you soon.